We've got the corrupt politicians. We've got the compromising preachers. One more group that I want to touch on. I think God is sending His judgment because of the complacent people. Corrupt politicians, that was the word, verse 1, the word from Micah. Verse 5, corrupt preachers, he says from the Lord. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is from King. This is my application. It's not there in the text, but I do believe it is an application for us. And I include myself. One of the characteristics of nations that go corrupt is that the majority of the people are unaware of it or indifferent to it. Folks, this is where the water hits the wheel. You may have been sitting there saying, yeah, it's those corrupt politicians, it's those compromising preachers, they are the problem. Well, I submit to you, there would be no corrupt politicians and there would be no compromising preachers if there were not any complacent people. If we, as the people, wouldn't put up with it, the preachers would preach the Word of God. Right. The politicians would stand for biblical principles. We are the problem. If we put up with corrupt politicians, us, we put them in office, we can take them out of office. If we just start going something other than the economy, quit thinking about your pocketbooks when you go to the polls. Think about what biblical principles should I be standing for. We are the problem. If we put up with compromising preachers, we call them to teach in our pulpits, and we should be the ones who take them out of our pulpits if they're compromising the Word of God. More tragic than the corruption is the complacency of the people concerning the corruption. Verse 11, he says, her judges judge for a bribe, her priests teach for a prize, her prophets tell fortunes for money, yet they, that's referring to us, the compromising or complacent people, yet they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? No disaster will come upon us. Me and God, we're one. I mean, God, we're just like that. God's here with us. He won't come in judgment. He's a God of love. How can you say that we're up for judgment? Isn't the Lord among us? No evil can come on us. Complacent and presumptuous people, presuming upon the presence of the Lord and presuming upon His protection from evil. So Micah closes this message with these words in verse 12. Therefore, because of you, Zion will be plowed like the field. Jerusalem will become like a heap of rubble. The Temple Hill, a mound overgrown with thickets. Who is the you? Us. Complacent people. Compromising preachers. Corrupt leaders. We come full circle back to where Matt started this Wednesday night. My people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face. Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. What John preached about last night. God's judgment on a lukewarm people. Do the invitation a little bit different. Pray right now. There's going to be an invitation after Ken preaches. A little bit later. You can respond. I'm going to get the preacher to break out. The preacher you think you're coming up praying for your compromising preacher. I've heard these preachers this week. They're some good preachers. Let's pray. Just heads bowed, eyes closed, searching our hearts. We lead us in prayer. God, I don't want to be complacent. Forgive me for being complacent, lukewarm. Lord, as you said to John last night, you'd rather us be cold. Lord, we don't want to be spit out of your mouth. Help us. Forgive us of our complacency. God, help us not to compromise. Lord, help us to always speak the truth. Help us to speak it in love, but help us never back away from the truth. Help us not to compromise. Forgive us. Lord, I pray. I thank you for all the Bible preaching, the Bible loving pastors in this nation. Lord, there are folks out there who love you and preach you, and they are outside the circles of Baptists too. They, Father, they believe your word. I thank you, God, for the Bible believing, Bible preaching pastors. God, I pray for those who have forsaken your word, those who have compromised. I pray that you send a sense of conviction. Lord, start working with us as preachers. We, the people, won't be so complacent, and our politicians won't be so corrupt. And Lord, if there's any corruption in our lives, we don't have to be politicians to be corrupt. God, forgive us of the corruption. Lord, we are. We do want to humble ourselves. We are praying. We are seeking your face. We are turning from our wicked ways. Lord, we look forward to your promise that you're going to hear, you're going to forgive, and you're going to heal. Lord, we look forward to what you're going to do in the days to come in our